Hi all, today I'm going to be showcasing how you can create a fireball type attack. I'm remaking this video. I'm just trying to see if this quality is a little better than my previous videos. So first things first, I've got this part here with a decal. It's just a simple flipbook. So I'm just going to quickly make the fireball. So if we just make a part, we're just going to make it transparent, and I'm just going to make it into a ball shape just so that we've got a sort of idea of how it's going to collide. If you just do that and hold shift, you can sort of scale up and down. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to add in an attachment. We're going to do a quick particle emitter here. We're going to grab the decal, and I'm just going to quickly throw together some sort of fireball. So I'm going to change the lifetime to about half a second, give or take. We're gonna basically make the speed about 0.01. We're gonna make this size about 3. We're gonna bring this light influence down, bring the brightness up. We're gonna make it a sort of fire-like, color. We're gonna basically set this to be 2x2 for the flipbook. We are gonna make it random, just so that it's randomly spawning, and we'll give it something like 12 frames per second, or maybe like 8 frames per second, something like that. Then we're gonna basically do some transparency work here, so we're just gonna fade it in, fade it out at the end, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna add in some rotation here, so we'll give it some rotation to play with, and then we'll give it some spread angle, I think. So if I do negative 360 and 360 on this, it should hopefully help. And if we can sort of try and experiment with some of these settings here, I'll probably just leave it on camera facing, and we'll put the Z offset to 1 so that it's in front of the player, and we'll increase this, so we'll do maybe 150, something like that. So they're all sort of clumped together because they're inside of the attachment. I'm just going to name this Fireball, and what we're going to do here is I'm going to actually increase some of the speed here. So if we increase the speed, we can sort of see we're getting this now. So yeah, something like that. So I'm going to make this, actually, I'm going to make this into a tool. So we're going to go into our starter pack, create a tool. We're going to call it Fireball. I'm just going to quickly create some stuff here. So we're going to create a local script, a script, and we're going to create a remote event. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to create an animation because we want to do an animation with this. And we also need to basically click and drag this handle into the fireball. Now I'm just going to copy and paste this so that we've got it back in our workspace, just so that we have it. I'm just going to type this fireball just in case we want to edit it later. So if I play the game, what I should have is, if you ignore that error, what I should have is we should have a fireball here. So if I press this, we should now have this. So as you can see, the fire is sitting on top of the player now. If you don't like that, what you can do is we can go back into particle, and if you change the Z offset, that should hopefully do that, so you can sort of see it a little nicer. And with it being a handle, it's now a part of this tool. So yeah, what I'm going to do next is we're going to work on some of the animations. So I'm just going to bring in a block rig, and I'm just going to quickly do this. So we're going to do animation editor, and I'm just going to click on my rig here. I'm going to double click this just to minimize it so we've got more space to work with here. And yeah, we'll just ignore that error. That error isn't anything to do with anything. So we'll do fireball YouTube test. Okay. Now we're gonna click this little arrow and put in all of the body parts. We're gonna right click, add a keyframe to everything. Basically the idea here is I'm just gonna take the middle piece here, the lower torso, and at about 0.3 seconds I'm just gonna pull it back like so. We're gonna click the head, sort of point it like that, and the idea is I'm just sort of having the guy sort of throw it. So I'm just going to have like, I don't know, something like this. It's going to look more like a punch, kind of. So we're going to do something like that. I'm going to like do this. Okay, and if you hit the 1, 2, 3 keys, you can sort of change to arrows, so you can do that. So you can drag and place it wherever you like. So we'll do something like that. So this is what we're looking at right now. And then at about 0.6 seconds, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the torso, we're going to rotate it back like so. I'm going to rotate the head so he's facing where we're shooting the fireball. And I'm just going to sort of rotate this. So obviously this can be a lot easier if you've got like a Moon Animator or Blender or what have you, but I'm just showing the beginners here how you sort of go about doing this. So if we click this, do that, you can sort of see, you can get some really quick things going quite quickly. So we'll do something like this. So this is what it looks like. So if we hit the space key, yeah, it looks kind of bad, but yeah, if I just take these keyframes, pull them back a little, make it a little faster, just click and drag these back, do something like that. And might need to do something like this. If we highlight all of these, right click, easing style, put it to cubic, you can try and see what that looks like. Looks like he's pointing, but yeah, I can do something like that. Can do the easing style to be out as well, just so it's like that. So that's sort of what the animation is going to look like when we're doing it. That's fine. Now, just for the ease of this video, I'm just going to quickly click on this, and we're going to basically show animation events. And I'm just going to do a little animation event here at the end. So if you right click, you can actually add an animation event. And the reason we're doing that is because we want to have the fireball shoot out from the fist of the player after the animation's finished. So I'm just going to do a throw for this. So that's going to be the event name, and it's not going to have any parameters. So if you click save on that, you should see a little throw here. So when the animation gets to the end, it's going to trigger the throw, and we're going to script that. So yeah, so I'm just going to quickly save this, and we're going to set the animation priority to be an action. That's just so we don't run into any animation weird issues when we're scripting. So I'm just going to publish this, copy the ID for it here, close this panel. We can close out the animation editor now, and we're just going to basically paste in the animation ID into where we had our animation property here. So pop that in here, boom, do that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly add in a part here, and we're just going to make like a little wall so that we can test this. We're just going to like throw the fireball against this wall sort of thing. Okay, so we're going to get into the scripting side of things. Okay, so we're going to call this fireball client. This is the local script, and we'll call this fireball server. This is going to be the server script stuff, and we're just going to do fireball remote for the remote event. So what we're going to do here is in the local script, we're just going to do local player equals game.Players.LocalPlayer. We're going to do remote equals script.Parent, and we're just going to we're just going to wait for the child, and we're just going to wait for the fireball remote. Then we need a debounce. This is what's used for the cooldown. In fact, we'll just call it cooldown. So this will be the cooldown. We'll set that to false. We'll do a cooldown timer. We'll set that to be about 0.25 seconds each time you can do a fire attack. We need a reference to the tool, so we need to do script.Parent so that we can grab that. Okay, so these are basically our very basic variables. What we need next is we need something. Yeah, okay, that should do. So we'll do tool.Activated, that's an event. We're going to connect our own custom function of code to it. So this is when the tool gets clicked on. we're just going to test this out. So we're going to print out did this work. Okay, so now if we quickly play the game, and we just get rid of that error. If we do fireball, and then if we click, we can see that it worked. But if we rapidly click, you can see it just keeps going, so we can spam this fireball, technically speaking. So this is why I've got this cooldown here. We don't want that to happen. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this in an if statement. We're going to say if the cooldown that we've got is false, which it will be at the start of the game, then we want to set the cooldown to be true. That way we don't fire this code again until we set it back to being false. So we're going to do a task.wait, and this is where our cooldown is going to come in. So we're going to do cooldown timer in here. So that's going to be equal to 0.25 seconds, which basically means it's going to basically wait for a quarter of a second, after which we're going to set the cooldown back to being false. That way the code can run again. So pretty much this is called a debounce check or a cooldown. So basically what we're doing here is we're saying anything in between these lines here, basically do the code, and if you try and click again it won't let you because we've got this set to true. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to set up some animation stuff next. So I'm going to do local anim is going to be equal to our script.Parent WaitForChild, and we're going to wait for the animation, and then we're going to do anim we're going to do player.Character.Humanoid, and we're going to load animation, and the animation we're going to load in is anim, and we're going to call that local anim load is going to be equal to that. So now we can do animload dot play, so we play the animation, and yeah, pretty much we're good there. Okay, and we're just gonna basically do when the animation's playing, we're gonna need to basically wait for the signal. So we're gonna do animload, and we're gonna do GetMarkerReachedSignal, and that's gonna be what did I name it again? So that would be, I think it was throw. I think. Just bear with me for a second here. Yeah, it was throw. Okay. So we'll do that, and it'll be called throw. Okay, and then we're gonna basically connect our own function to this. So this is how you go about, checking the animation markers. So we're calling a function here on our animation loaded, and we're connecting our own custom function to it. And basically the idea here is when this marker is reached, we're going to do a remote, and we're going to fire to the server. Okay, and yeah, that should be good enough. So in our server-sided script, or our normal script, I'm just going to take the same remote, and we're just going to connect up a onServerEvent. We're going to connect a function to it, and that's going to bring in the player by automatically across. So I'm just going to print out fire the fireball now. Okay, so now technically speaking, what this should do is when I equip the fireball and when I click, we should play the animation, and when the animation reaches its end, it should then print out to shoot the fireball, or it won't. Oh yeah, sorry, I was doing the wrong thing. It's not a dot play, it's that, because we're running a function. Just ignore that error at the moment, it's just a plug-in for something else. So if I left click, yep, so that works. So yeah, it looks a little funny, but yeah, it's a little like that. Yeah, for some reason that's shooting quite a lot actually. That's doing it multiple times. Let me just see here. Give me two secs. Oh, sorry, that's my mistake. I figured what the issue is. You actually have to put this marker reach the signal stuff actually outside of the tool, because every time I'm clicking it I'm essentially causing the issue. So yeah, we'll do that. So we'll put the animload outside and have it set as its own thing so it only fires once. So if I click play and just get rid of that and get rid of this weird assistant thing, fireball, and we left click, boom, there we go. Click and click and click, and you can see it's doing it times 4, times 5, times 6, times 7, and if I rapid click this, it does let me rapid click, but that's because we have a cooldown here. So if I set this cooldown to like 2 for 2 seconds, just clear the output. So I should only be able to do this every 2 seconds. So yeah, I'm clicking right now. It's only letting me do it every 2 seconds. So that's how you control the input from the player. So that's the local script side for the very, very raw basic stuff. We haven't done anything else here, but we do need one additional thing here. We need to grab the player's mouse. So we'll do player mouse. That's going to be player, and we're going to get the mouse like so. And when we fire the server, what we're going to actually send across is we're going to send across the player mouse.Hit. And this .hit is basically a C-frame of where the mouse's data is coming from, but we're going to pass in the position, so that's a vector 3. So if you hover over stuff and you're not too sure, you can open up the documentation or ask the assistant for it. So we're now in here. So now this is where we need to do all of our cloning, and because we're on the server we can actually spawn the fireball. So we're going to do local fireball is going to be equal to get service, and we're going to get the server storage. Now we haven't actually did this yet, so this is the reason I left this out. So fireball, if we copy this and simply paste it into our server storage like so, and if we just make sure that the can collide is off, sorry, and that the anchored is untrue, that should be fine. That way we don't get any weird issues here. So basically the idea here is we're going to come in here, we're going to find the first child, so we're actually just going to be looking for the fireball, and then after that we're going to clone it. Okay, so we're going to do fireball and we're going to parent it to the workspace so that you can see it, and where we're going to position this is right next to our player's hand. So we're going to do fireball dot C-frame is going to be equal to the fireball C-frame multiplied by a new one. So we're going to basically, yeah, I think that would be a good idea. Well, actually no, hold on. What we'll do is we'll set the fireball C-frame equal to the player's character. And just so for my own sake, if I quickly play the game, what does the player have again? So I think it's a right hand, isn't it? Yes, so it's right hand. So I'm just going to copy that. And in here we're just going to do dot right hand dot C-frame. Okay, so that's going to basically place the fireball at the C-frame of our hand, and it's just going to hover there for the moment. We're not moving it at all. So if I quickly play the game, and if I click, that should, technically speaking, are we spawning a fireball? We are. And then it's being deleted. Oh yeah, of course it will, because we aren't actually doing any physics calculations to it, so that's my mistake. We left it unanchored. So I'm just going to anchor it for testing purposes. Sorry, this is the good part about debugging stuff. It gets a little messy. So if I click, it should now be there, just static, waiting. And basically the idea here is I'm creating a clone of the one that's in my hand from the server storage, and we're going to be basically doing some physics stuff on this to push it to where the mouse is clicked. Okay, so whenever I click somewhere, we're going to basically shoot the fireball, and we're going to have to basically set up some stuff here. So we're going to do, these are comments, so you can type whatever you want into the script. So we're going to do a body gyro to move the player to where the mouse is facing, and we need to bring in the mouse. So we're going to do mouse position. These are parameters, they can be named anything you want. So when we send this across via here, we're actually sending it into being this. So this this value is now inside of mouse position because player comes along for the journey when you do a FireServer event. It sends the player always as the first item. So if player's always the first item and the second item is anything you put in here, that threw me off when I was learning to script. So if you're confused by that, that's what's happening here. So this line here is jumping over into the server and we're sending the mouse position, and that's where it's being stored inside of this mousepos. So the idea is we pretty much want to set up a couple of things. So we need a body gyro and we need a body velocity. So the two of these are physics properties. So yeah, we'll set up the body velocity first. So I'll do local BV, that stands for body velocity, and we're going to equal instance.new, and we're going to do a body velocity. Yeah, body velocity. And where we're going to place it is we're actually going to put it into the fireball itself. Now we're going to do bv dot p for power. We're going to set it to 3000 to begin with. That's just the default that it usually comes with. We're going to set the max force to being a vector3.new, and we're going to do math.huge, math.huge, and math.huge. The reason we're doing that is because we want to just have the max force being really high, just in case for later. So yeah, we'll do a name and we'll just call it like body velocity, or we'll do fireball velocity, okay? And we'll do bv dot velocity. Now this is the actual thing that pushes or makes the fireball go to where we want it to go, if that makes sense. So this is where a little bit of vector math comes in handy. This is just something you have to learn just in general for game development stuff. We need to normalize this vector. We need to basically get the direction the vector's going in, and to do that we need to use something called the unit vector for the velocity. So basically what does that mean? It means that we're going to be setting our velocity equal to, oh, this is like all generating, okay, that was weird. Basically what I'm going to do here is we're going to grab the fireball's location, okay? So we're going to grab its position, and this is just a rule in terms of Roblox, we have to wrap this inside of a bracket. So we need to do the position of the fireball and we need to take it away from our mouse position, okay? So that gets the difference. So wherever our mouse clicks and wherever our fireball is, we need to get the difference, and we need to get the unit vector of that. Now the unit vector is the direction a vector is facing. It's usually in a direction of 1. So you can look this up, you can Google it, there's other videos that do this justice, but just to give you an idea, we're making our velocity of the body velocity that's inside of our fireball the direction of this calculation. So we're taking our own position where we are at as the fireball, we're subtracting the mouse's position wherever we click, that could be anywhere on the screen, and essentially we're getting the direction of that vector. So where is it pointing? Just imagine an imaginary arrow pointing to where the mouse is from the fireball's location. That's what this line of code does, and we have to wrap it inside of these brackets because we have to call the .unit operator on it. And because this is just the unit vector, it won't actually move too fast. We need to multiply this by a value, so we need to multiply it by a speed. So I like to just give it something initially like 25 or something, and we can make this a variable at the top here. So we could say something like local fireball speed equals 25, something like that, and we can just multiply it by that. So yeah, that's basically where we're at with this. Now, we'll give it a little test run. It might not work, but we'll give it a little go here. So we'll do this. Okay, so we'll click that. Oh yeah, that's another big thing. It keeps catching me out. This If you've got anchored enabled on any of these physics-based stuff, it won't work. I switched that on just for testing purposes earlier, but now we have to switch it off because that's why it's not working. It's not going to move. So if I just clear the output and click, and well, as you can see, it does work, but it's going the opposite way, and I think I know why. We have to basically take this entire calculation and minus it. So a quick trick to do that is you just do a minus sign at the front here, and that flips all of this to being negative values. So if we go to play, I think it's just the way the mouse unit vector has been calculated. So if I click, the fireball should now go to where my mouse is. So you can see it goes straight to the mouse. And because we're using the unit vector, it's normalized, which basically means it's very accurate. It's between 0 and 1. So that means it will go exactly where my mouse is being targeted here. And right now, you can see there's a problem. The player doesn't face the mouse. So if we're facing away from where we're shooting, you can see we can shoot behind us. So it's a little buggy, few things to fix. But this is the idea, this is the premise. So now we need to clean this up. So we have the body velocity stuff done. The next thing is we're going to do some body gyro stuff. So this is where we do local body gyro equals instance.new, and we'll do a body gyro. And I think these are depreciated now, but I'm just using them because it's the only ones I know. So yeah, I'll try and learn the other ones, but yeah, it just is what it is. So because this is a body gyro and we have to turn the player, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pop this into the player's humanoid root part, just so that when we do the rotation for this, it's going to turn our entire player. So we're going to do body gyro dot power. It's going to be about 3000 again. We can edit that. We're going to do body gyro dot name is going to be equal to our we'll just do fireball body. Okay, and we'll do body gyro max torque. It's the same type of idea. So we do a vector 3. We do math.huge because we don't want to limit this. You can if you want. It gets a little complicated though. Just bear with me. I'll just do that. So that's fine. So then we'll do body gyro. D is the dampener, so you can actually dampen how much this is going to be, but I'm not going to set that for the moment. We'll just do body gyro.cframe. Basically, the C-frame of the body gyro is something we're going to need to set, so I'll be back in just a second. Okay, I just had to look up some stuff because it's a little funky when it comes to the max torque stuff. So instead of doing math.huge on every one of these, we're just going to do it on the X and Y axis. We're not going to do it on the we're just going to do it on the Y axis, not the X or the Z axis. And I think it's just so we don't actually accidentally rotate our player's body upwards, because I was doing some testing off camera there, and you can do stuff like that if you shoot up into the sky and things, and it'll rotate your player. So we just want to do it on the Y axis, this green one here, like so. So that's the reason I've left out the others. Okay, so the C-frame of this, there's a very handy thing you can do inside of Roblox, which is you can set it to being a new C-frame, and there's some cool tricks you can do with this. So there's 6 different uses of C-frames. So if I click through them, you can sort of see, you can give it a whole bunch of values, and you can set up C-frames in all sorts of different ways, but the way we are going to use it is called a lookat vector. So we give it a position value, and then we give it a vector 3 to look at something, and of course we want to basically take our humanoid's root part, and we're going to make it look at the mouse's position. So we can just do that by doing this. So if we do player.Character.Humanoid root part dot C-frame, whoops, and because this is a vector, we're going to need the position, and we will do a comma, and we're going to do the lookat vector now. So that's just simple, it's just going to be the mouse position. So that's all good. Now we don't want the body gyro to be active after we click, because it's just going to mess up big time. So I'll show you what that does. So if I click play, equip the fireball, and if we're looking away, if I click, you can see we slowly rotate but it's really broken now, so we can't really move too well. Yeah, and it's sort of getting in the way. Just to stop any issues with the fireball, actually, what I'm going to do also is I'm going to set the fireball to be maskless. So I'm just going to set that to true so that there isn't any mask, because sometimes this can interfere. So I'm just going to add that real quick before I forget. But we're going to add a task.delay. Now these are cool because you can delay something from happening. So we're going to delay this by 0.5 seconds. And we're going to write our own custom function in here. So this function of code is going to run after 0.5 seconds of a delay. Basically what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to say if our body gyro is true, then what we want to do is we basically just want to destroy it. So we just want to do that. So we want to do like body gyro destroy effectively. So after half a second, it should destroy the body gyro inside of our player. So after it does the rotation magic, we're going to basically remove it. So if I quickly open up the player, humanoid root part, okay, so we should see the body gyro show up here. So if I click, yeah, the body gyro showed up. Yeah, it's not fast enough, so I'm probably going to have to up the power on it. So if we do something like 3000 times 3, something like that, we'll try that. It might be a bit too powerful, but oh Christ, okay. Yeah, something like that. So if I click here, boom, we spin around. We're sort of facing the direction. Okay. In fact, the position might be different. So, yeah, instead of just using the raw mouse position, it might get a little tricky with this. So I'm just going to use our new variable here, and we're going to call it, I don't know, something like target position, and we'll set it equal to a vector3.new. And basically, the idea here is I'm going to use the mouse position's X position, but we're going to be pretty much using the humanoid root parts position. So hold on, let me just do this real quick because we're getting a little bit of a funky thing happening here. So humanoid, I should really put this in its own position.y, and then we want to do the mouse position.z. So basically this is making up a brand new vector3. We're taking the mouse position's X and then we're giving it the Y position and then the Z position. This basically just fixes some weird rotation issues with the body gyro. So if I quickly play test this again, if I click this, yeah, it's sort of working. Yeah, okay. We'll continue on anyway. So, whoops, sorry, I didn't test that properly. So if we go back, workspace, go into my player, go to the humanoid root part, equip the fireball. What we're going to do here is I'm just going to click. You see how it sort of spawned and went away? What I'll do is we'll do a dampener actually. So we'll do body gyro, that, and we'll do a dampening of about 50 or something. And we'll make this a little longer. So we'll do like a 1 second cooldown, just so it's got double the time to work with. So we won't snap around as hard, I don't think. Or we'll snap around, yeah, like that, okay. Okay, let me just change the dampening to half that. So we'll do 25, test it again. Okay, it's still snapping around. We'll do, in fact, does this number need to be larger? We'll do like 4000 damping. That shouldn't be as hard now. It may be too much now. Lovely, I should have tested this before. We'll do something like 250. This is the great part about debugging. Okay. It sort of works, so if I'm like zoomed out here and I wanted to like fire it at that guy, you could just do that and spin. The fireball will go, and that fireball is based on the fireball speed that we set here, so I could double that and do 50. So this is where you can get really cool math stuff, so you could randomize this number, which is quite interesting. Okay, you do that, snap around, boom, fireball's going. Okay. So we have the body velocity set up, we've got the body gyro. The next part is we want to sort of set up a way for the fireball to do collisions. So we'll do that next. So I'll be back in just 1 second. Okay, so now that we've got this, we need to sort of do the touch event stuff. So I'm going to be using touch event for the for the actual stuff. So underneath our task delay, we're going to do the collision checks. Okay, and pretty much how this is going to go here is we're going to need to set up a touched event for the fireball. So we have access to our fireball, so we're going to do touched. We're going to connect it to a function, and we will do a hit. Okay, so fireball dot touched, and we need to basically set up a variable here. So we'll do the variable at the top. So we'll do something like local. We'll do has hit. We'll set it to false. So this is going to be like sort of like similar to the debounce or the cooldown from before. So I'm just going to say if has hit, then we're just going to return to the end. Pretty much, so that way it's only gonna run this code once effectively. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're just gonna say, yeah. So if we're not hit or not hit.Parent, whoops, then we want to return to the end as well. So this return end basically means that we're just going to skip this code. That's all that means. When you're inside of a block of code like a function or inside of like an if statement or something like that, when you do return, it just means that you skip all the other code. So basically we're just checking to see whatever we've hit here. So if we're not hitting anything and the hit isn't whatever we're parented to, then we're just going to return to the end. That just means that the fireball hasn't touched anything, or if the collision check, or if the touch does happen here, it doesn't actually do anything. Like we don't hit ourselves. Basically, we don't hit the fireball itself, if that makes sense. So speaking of that, I'm just going to make sure that the hit basically doesn't hurt our player, because we don't want to hurt ourselves, obviously. So we want to do hit as a descendant of, and we're going to do the player.Character. And then we're just going to return to the end as well with that one. So the descendant is descendant of is a function. So whatever we hit here is basically a base part. So we can use these to check. So we can check to see if it's a descendant of the player character. So if the fireball touches anything inside of our character, basically just ignore it. Just skip to the next part of the code. So we're going to do if hit.name. Is going to be equal to whatever we set our fireball name to. Did we set a fireball name? We did not, so we could do that here. So we could do fireball.name. Screw it, just fireball, that'll do. So yeah, so we could say if the fireball is that, then we want to return to the end as well. Okay, so these are just like pre-checks to see if we're hitting ourselves or the player character or the fireball itself. So now we need to basically get the humanoid. So we're going to do local humanoid is going to be equal to whatever we have hit, its parent, and we need to find the first child of humanoid. So this is if we hit a humanoid. So we're going to do if humanoid. So by doing this line of code, if humanoid, that basically means if humanoid is true, basically what we're going to do here is we're going to set has hit equal to true. Okay, so we have hit something, and we're going to do humanoid, and we're going to call the little function on it, take damage, and we're going to set it to 25. Okay, and then what we're going to do here is we're going to do fireball, and we're just going to destroy the fireball after this has happened. Okay, so now if I quickly play the game, we should see the fireball delete itself if it hits something. So if we, whoops. Oh, of course, I wrote fire instead of fireball. Fireball.name is fireball, play the game. Sorry, that was my mistake. So we'll test this out. We'll chuck a few fireballs and see what's happening here. So do that. Okay, that didn't hit anything. Let's try hitting the rig. Yep. Okay, so that's working. Okay. Okay, so that's not hitting anything just now. Okay, so we have something. So basically we've got a problem here. We have the fireball, it lasts forever if it doesn't hit a different thing than the player. So outside of the fireball.touched, what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to set up another task. So we're going to do task dot delay, and I'm just going to set it to be 5 seconds initially. You can change this later, but this means that if the fireball doesn't touch something for 5 seconds, then we want to basically delete it because we don't want it to stay in the world forever traveling like that if there isn't anywhere for it to hit, because it might go off screen, you know, it might go outside of the boundaries. So that's basically the code there to do that. So we're just checking to see if the fireball's true and the fireball.Parent is alive, then we're just going to destroy it effectively. And if you're confused about stuff, you can highlight stuff and ask the assistant and explain the code to you. So it's quite good that way. This is just the way I code. So yeah, so now if I play the game, thingy the fireball and click. So now after 5 seconds this should delete. Yeah, so that deleted. So if I just do that again, you should see fireball is now alive in the world and it should disappear. Yes. Okay, and every 2 seconds or so. Yep. There we go. And because it's 25, we should be able to hit this thing 4 times. Boom. There we go. Okay, so let me just double check something real quick, because I think the fireball's a little large in terms of its size. So if I drag this out real quick, back into the workspace, this is what we're working with. I just feel like the collision box is a little big, so if we go to the fireball, and if we go to, sorry about this, if we go to size, I will just scale this down. So we'll do like 1, 1, and 1 just so it's normalized, like so. Okay, so that should be a little nicer now in terms of the collisions. Collision group's fine. Okay, so we'll just cut this and paste it back into the server storage. Click play. See how this looks. Yeah, it's a little... Oops. Yeah, it's not colliding with anything else, so we'll solve that just now. Okay, so following on from that, we just need to do a little bit of cleanups here. So we're hitting the player, but we need to pretty much set up a way for the fireball to hit anything else. So yeah, what I've done here is just based on this code here, because we're already checking to see if we've hit a humanoid, what we can do is we can do a little else statement in here. And if we hit anything else, we can just destroy it. So we can just destroy the fireball elsewhere. So if I just quickly press play, this should mean that when I'm throwing the fireball, yeah, so if it hits this wall, for instance, it just deletes itself. If we hit the rig, it deletes itself. I can see it does delete itself quite far away, but I think that's just because body velocity isn't exactly, it's not super accurate. If you really wanted this to be super accurate, you would have to raycast. But I think that's a little complicated for this type of video. I might go into more depth with that. But yeah, this is just like a very basic fireball attack. It's like very rubbish. But yeah, I might do a follow-up video on this. But yeah, this is basically what we've got. I want to keep this video as short as possible. It's already quite long, sadly. It's about 45 minutes long. But yeah, this should give you the idea of doing animations, setting up a VFX, setting up a tool, setting up some local scripts and ServerScript logic with some body movers and physics stuff. So yeah, this could be expanded upon. I mean, you could have it so that whenever the fireball impacts, it does a little explosion. You'd have to set up a separate attack for that. So you would have to do something like this where you would clone this part, for instance, and instead of having the particles playing constantly, you would disable them, and you would have to emit them. So you would do something like 50 to emit them like that. Something like that, so it would explode at the end. So I'm just clicking emit a bunch of times. So yeah, you'd have to like bring the speed up to like 15 or something. So it's like that. Okay. If I could just put that in right now, so I could do explosion, do something like that. So we can copy that and paste it into our fireball attachment. Okay, so this isn't going to do anything until the fireball is basically going to be destroyed. So I'll be back in just a second while I've got this set up. Okay, so let me just try something real quick. So instead of destroying the fireball straight away, if we touch something, what I'm inclined to do here is instead of destroying it, we're going to set the body velocity value to basically be 0. So you do vector3 dot 0, I believe. Yes, so we do vector3 dot 0, and what we'll do here is we'll do fireball find first child, and we want to do the attachment, and we're going to do the particle emitter. We're going to set that to be enabled false, and we're just going to do the same type of code here. So I'm just going to copy paste, and basically we're just going to do an explosion here. So sorry, attachment, and we shall do explosion. But instead of enabling it, what we're going to do is we're going to call the emit function, and we're just going to emit something like that. Okay, so we'll play the game. We'll see if I've got any errors. Okay, sorry. So if I just shoot this fireball now, yeah, so you're getting something like that. Okay, so if I quickly do that, so this should be deleting the fireball after a period of time. Yeah. Oh, that fireball's still there. Okay. Interesting. Okay, and yeah, pretty much the same thing here. It's because we're not actually destroying the fireball until after 5 seconds. So I could set up a value here called local explosion equals false, and if we yeah, so we could do explosion equals true. We could say if explosion, then we want to basically task.wait. We'll wait 1 second, and then we're pretty much just going to destroy the fireball after that. Okay, and we'll do the same thing above here. So we'll take this and just copy paste it instead of here. So basically this code technically shouldn't be doing the same thing twice, but I'm just doing it here just for the ease of sake. I could separate that out into its own function and just run it twice, but if we hit a humanoid, so if we hit a player or an NPC, we're going to do pretty much the same thing. We're just going to do like the explosion stuff and then destroy the fireball, and the same thing goes for parts, like if we hit like the floor or walls or what have you. So this should now be a completed fireball attack. So if we do that, it should break apart and we shouldn't see the fireball anymore. Yeah, it deletes itself, okay. And we'll do the same thing on the rig. Yeah, so it explodes like so. And then you could obviously take this further with camera shake. you know, you could like make better animations, you could do sound effects, you could do much more with the actual VFX itself. I mean, it's just basically a big fireball thing, and the player's hand is out, stretched out like that. You could obviously not make this a tool. You could do like other custom ways of doing that. You could do like weapons, all that cool stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to cover this again. I did a fireball video a couple of years back now, but yeah, I just wanted to touch up on it. It's a little rough around the edges. If you're with me so far, then yeah, thank you for staying. Yeah, I might make a follow-up video just with some extra tidbits here and there, but I hope I got through all of this. It was quite a lengthy one, so yeah. Thanks, guys.